Hello, my name is Jim Howard. I'm in Miami, Florida. Today is November 27th, 2008, and it's Thanksgiving Day. It's almost noon here in Miami. It's nice to have you all make comments on the videos. It's nice for you to rate them. Appreciate that very much. And it's especially nice to hear from you. Occasionally I get email messages, or of course the comments also. Some of the videos that I've done, because I worked 30 years hospital security. I worked at St. Joe, St. Vincent's, Research Medical Center, Research Belton Hospital, Lee Summit Hospital, Manure Medical Center. I worked at 6 hospitals in the Kansas City, Missouri area over 30 years. Then after I retired, I went to Orlando, Florida, and I took a job down there for a while, and I was supervisor over their hospital security. It was a contract guard agency, and they had a hospital, and that was terrible. They put me in charge of their security program out there. Well, I didn't have a security program, but then I was a police officer for years. So a lot of the videos that I've made here, there's mention of some talk of hospital security or other matters like that. And so I got a young man who asked me to please, he said he's watched my videos on hospital security, and they're not answering the kind of questions that he has, and he's not getting the kind of information that he would like to have. So let me try to answer some of his questions. First, let me tell you that he says, how should an officer conduct himself on the job? How should an officer deal with different individuals? What kind of training is needed to be a hospital security officer? What kind of traits do you need to be successful on the job? How to convince management to provide a professional security department. Then he goes on to tell me, I won't mention where he works or whatever, but he probably wouldn't care, but he works in California, a medical center that is with a university, and at the facility that he works at, they have university police, and they also have a few security officers, and he's one of the security officers, and it's a university police department that takes care of security, and the security there takes care of the hospital. And so you get a little idea where he's coming from. I don't know, maybe this ought to be a multi-part. Let me see what I can do here with it real quick. On how should an officer conduct himself on the job? Well, you need to conduct yourself as a professional. You're working at a hospital, and you're dealing with professionals. All the people there are professionals. Many of them have degrees and advanced degrees. Your job is terribly responsible. You're responsible for the safety and the security of the facility, the physical and the good name of the facility, and you're responsible for all of the staff that works there, whether they're the CEO of the hospital, or whether it's somebody in the housekeeping or food service department, or whether it's the doctors that are on the medical staff, or all of the many 60 or 70 or 80% of the people that work there that are nurses. You're responsible for the patients, for their protection and for their safety and for their security. You're responsible for all of the visitors and the family that come there. Those family, at the end of visiting hours, when they leave, they're trusting in the nurse to take care of the patient and the doctor to see the patient and do the right thing. But they're also trusting that, that the patient something isn't going to happen to the patient because of fire or flood or somebody coming into the patient's room that shouldn't be doing something. So I mean, you have all these responsibilities, and so you've got to conduct yourself in a professional manner, no matter what. If they don't pay you enough money, if the working situation really, you still need to do your job, and then maybe look for work elsewhere or whatever. But you've got to be professional. You're also the person who's got to be looking at the wide picture or whatever. The doctor's looking at his thing, going from patient to patient. The nurse is taking care of the patients that are assigned, to her. But you got to be watching out for everything. The parking lot to the roof, to the penthouse where the controls are for the elevators. You got to be checking the basement. You have to be responsible for everything. And if something comes down, you're not going to get a lot of respect because they're busy. Everybody there is busy. You're not going to get a lot of respect, probably. But when something happens, the people are going to look to you to, what do we do? We just had an earthquake. We're under a tornado, warning. There's a hurricane coming. There's a fire down the street. The police we can see the police across the street with their guns drawn, surrounding a building or whatever. There's a patient out of control in the emergency room. There's a patient up on the floor who is a decent human being, but he's having a bad medication reaction. Everything is, it is your responsibility there. You've got to be prepared to deal with everything, and you have to deal with it in the correct, manner. I worked for a director of security he was a very smart man. He didn't know how to handle people really, but he's a really smart man. I liked him. He liked me. We were opposite ends of the pole, though, on a lot of things. He wanted to make everything into an emergency. He wanted to make everything into a big thing. My philosophy was that you keep everything calm, quiet. You don't make everything, into an emergency. You calmly do everything and get things taken care of without agitating people. You do not run down the hall. You do not. I remember him pounding on elevator doors when he wanted to get someplace. I remember him running down the hall, almost knocking down a patient to go, to get someplace. You want to be calm, cool, and appear to be, in control. You may have somebody that is an out of control patient who's, a kung fu expert or a really, really big person, and your heart may be pounding and you may be, perspiring and sweating or whatever, because this looks like a really bad situation and you're the only one there, or maybe there's just two of you and it's going to take 4 or 5 people to restrain this person, but you have to be calm and cool, and you need to learn how to handle situations without escalating these situations. You have to learn, you have to know, you have to learn all of these things, and you can't learn them all the first day. You've got to learn, how can I handle this person who's out of control, without escalating the situation. If I yell and scream at him, is that going to get him to comply with what has to be done? Or if I calmly talk to him, maybe he will not, maybe he will come down. You have to know that when a person goes bananas, that is going to peak. I mean, you can only be like that for a little bit, and then there's going to be a plateau and then you have a chance maybe. You have to learn ways to, you know, keep yourself under control. Maybe be standing there kind of just rubbing your fingertips together down at your side or something. But you also need to, you know, there's verbal judo, something which would be good to learn. There's a gentleman that has a website. You can do a search for, you know, verbal judo. There are numerous things that you can get, videos that you can get. And hopefully, I mean, hopefully you don't have to go out and do this. Hopefully your department has a training officer. I used to be the training officer at just one hospital. Hopefully you can have the training, but if you have training once a month and for 2 hours, I mean, that isn't going to be enough. But what subject was I talking about? How should an officer conduct himself? And I think I talked about how to deal maybe with different kinds of individuals, you know, not in tremendous, you know, detail, but you have to understand that everybody who comes to the hospital, I mean, sometimes you don't know what their situation is, but you have people at the hospital who are under tremendous pressure. You know, you have people that are sick, you have visitors who are concerned for them, you have people worrying about, you know, the bill, you have somebody who's, one time I was on the first floor of the hospital and I heard a yelling and screaming, and I opened up the stairwell doors and it was coming from up in the stairwell upstairs. I didn't know how far it was, but I ran up the stairs. Ended up having a hairline fracture in my foot after running up those 6 flights of stairs. And I got up there, and of course I was out of breath. And it's not good when you don't have enough oxygen. I was out of breath, and it was kind of difficult to deal with the situation. One of the people was a doctor, not one of our doctors, but a medical doctor. And it was all family. And they had a relative there who was dying, and the family was arguing about finances and who was going to get his, you know, who was going to get the money and that type of situation. So you have to learn about that. You have to realize that people are under stress. You have to realize people don't act. So you need to understand yourself, know yourself, and learn about people and work with them. I don't want to spend too much time on that. What kind of training is needed? Well, of course, the hospital is going to require that you have, you know, first aid training or CPR training. There are certain things they're required to give to you. OSHA training, training on HIV, and won't be just HIV, but it'll be the hospital's procedures for I forget the terminology. For not contaminating. What's the word? Anyway, I forget what it is. But you know that they're required to give that kind of training so that you know when you can go into a room without putting on when you need to put on a face mask, when you need to put on gloves. But then that's the training that the hospital has to give everybody. And there is a International Association of Hospital Security. They have a 40-hour basic security officer training course. They have an advanced course. They may have others. There's videos that you can get. Then there are, all the police training that you can get. You need to have, of course, not only do you need to know how to prevent fires, you need to know how to fight fires. You need to know all about the fire extinguishers and the standpipes. You need to know where everything is in the hospital. If you're in an area, where is the fire alarm pull thing? How do they work? At one hospital, when I was in charge of doing the fire alarm testing, and I did it weekly, once a week at the same time each day, the switchboard operator would announce, "This is a weekly test of our fire alarm system. We will be testing the fire alarm system. If you do not hear the alarm in your area, please call the operator." In the past, what had been done was the security officer would just supervisor would go over someplace and, set off the smoke detector there, or go and pull, or not, would unlock the fire pull thing and push the button or whatever, rather than break the glass. I went, when I always did, and when I took over doing it, I went, and wherever I went, let's say to a nursing station, and you do it each week at a different location to make sure the systems rang the correct area or whatever. When I would go there, I would get to the nurse or the doctor or somebody. I would say, "Okay, right now I want you to pull this for me," and they'd do it. And then the nurse or whoever it was would say, "Oh, I didn't know it would be that hard to break that glass," and they appreciate, So you're training yourself, you train other people. If you're doing hospital security or whatever, you should be the people responsible. I think, maybe the hospital has a fire marshal or whatever. You should be the ones who, once a year or whatever, are showing the doctors, nurses, and the staff how to do how to fight a fire or whatever. You should be going out in the parking lot. Please don't set the hospital or anybody on fire. But you should be going out and setting up little fires or whatever, and showing the nurses and the staff, run them out there and show them how to use fire extinguishers. You can also have, of course, tapes to do that. But the training, hopefully you're just not somebody, if you did just walk in, community college, you can take law enforcement. How long does this thing run? Oops, I don't have a timer on this. God, I hate to stretch this out to multiple tapes that show you how far. Let me jump off of that subject. We're going to need to do multiple parts on this, unfortunately, because the thing about the management and getting that definitely going to need to be separate talked about. So let me end this now, and I don't know if I did any good or not. Appreciate the questions, and I got the feeling I just skimmed the surface. But let's end this for now.